Welcome to Sports Beat KC, the Kansas City Star Sports Podcast. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. With a doubleheader sweep of the Cleveland Guardians on Monday, the Royals are one game out of first place in the AL Central, and they haven't been this close to the top this late in the season since the World Series team of 2015. It's exciting stuff. On Monday, MJ Melendez hit a three-run homer and made an amazing catch in left field before Bobby Witt Jr. hit the go-ahead home run in a 4-3 victory in the opener. In the second game, Salvaldor Perez hit a pair of home runs, including a grand slam, drove in 6 as the Royals went on to complete the sweep. This after they looked terrible in dropping the final 2 games to the Phillies at the K. Here to talk about it all is Royals beat writer Jaylon Thompson, who's in Cleveland for a couple more games, then off to Houston for 4 more. Hello, Jaylon. How you doing?
Hey, Blair. Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, exciting stuff on Monday for the Royals. You are there. So let's talk about it in terms of this 20-game stretch that they're on that started last Friday against the Philadelphia Phillies. It's 20 games against teams that are either in first place in their division or are in the playoffs, as in the case of the Minnesota Twins, right? So it's 20 straight games against teams that are in the playoffs. The Royals right now are 3-2 in those games. When this stretch started, what were you thinking about the Royals and what a good kind of record would be in these 20 games?
I thought if they can go 500, they had a good chance at potentially making the playoffs. You just look at the gauntlet that was on the schedule, and it is on the schedule. Philadelphia Phillies, you had the Cleveland Guardians, you mentioned Houston Astros, then you got the Guardians again, then you have the Minnesota Twins, and you finish it off with the New York Yankees. That's just a tough stretch of games to go through. But in a certain way, it kind of is great that the Royals are going through this stretch because you're getting to see what this team is made of. And if you weren't convinced before, you have to be convinced now after seeing what they did on Monday night against the Guardians at Progressive Field on the road. You know, everybody makes a big deal of the splits. Well, the Royals are great at home, but on the road, they're average. Well, if you pick up 2 big wins at Progressive Field against the Guardians when you needed them, I think that just shows that this Royals team is here to compete. And that's exactly what a lot of players have said.
You know, they in those games, not only did they make good plays, the Melendez catch in left field in game 1 and Salvi hitting the grand slam, his 6th career grand slam in game 2. So not only did they have big moments, they also overcame some sloppy play too. That first inning in game 2 with Dairon Blanco in right field, I'm not sure what in the world was going on there, but they showed some resiliency as well as playing, some good baseball, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And if you look at last year's team, if they got down 3-0, it was pretty much over. They were done. But for somehow, every time you think that the Royals might be done after losing and giving up 22 runs in the last 2 games against the Phillies, they come right back and they show they can play, they can win games. So it's truly something to see. And their mantra is today, and that's what they preach. And I really can see it. I mean, who would have thought you come off of a disappointing homestand against the Phillies where you dropped 2 out of 3 games, and then you come back and you win 2 games in a doubleheader, and like you mentioned, you were down 3-0, and you have Paul DeYoung hits a home run to get you back in it. Then Salvi steps on the gas and gives you 6 RBIs. I mean, it's really impressive to watch. It's really impressive to see. Can they keep it going? I'm not sure, but I'm not going to count them out. And also, if you look at where they are in the standings, they're, like you said, 1 game behind the Guardians in the American League Central. But in the wild card, they're like up 6 games on the Boston Red Sox for that final spot. So, I mean, they're in a good spot right now.
Yeah, we kind of buried the lead. They're 1 game out of first place with, I think it's right at, as we're speaking, 30 games to go. I think they played 132, and it's a 162-game season. So 30 games left. They'd really have to go in the tank to miss the playoffs. I think the analytics have them somewhere between 75 and 80% to make the playoffs at this point. The only, I guess, the cautionary tale I'd have is the Royals just for whatever reason match up well against the Cleveland Guardians. They've won 6 of the 8 games so far against them. It's kind of good for the Royals that they have 5 games left, 2 more in Cleveland, and then as you mentioned, 3 in Kansas City on the starting early next week. Against the Minnesota Twins, it's just the opposite. The Twins just seem to own the Royals. I think the Twins have a 7-2 advantage over the years. And it's funny, Cleveland owns the Twins. So it's like a round robin. Cleveland's beaten the Twins, I think it's 6 out of 8. So it's really funny how it works out among the top 3 teams in the AL Central. I want to go back also to something else you said. Salvaldor Perez, he's the team captain. He's the leader. Bobby Witt's having an MVP caliber season. We can talk another time about he and Aaron Judge and what's in Juan Soto and the leading candidates for MVP. But I want to focus on Salvi. What a huge moment for him yesterday to hit the grand slam and break open the game. The Royals were up 5-4 when he hit it, so they had already taken the lead, thanks in part to Salvi's earlier home run and RBI. But so what was Salvi like after the game yesterday? I noticed he didn't get the ice water bucket shower. We're talking to Joel Goldberg, but he had to be in a great mood after the game on Monday.
Oh, yeah. He was in a good mood. When you think about Salvi and what it takes to really play in a Major League Baseball game, I asked him, I said, how'd you get prepared to go from game 1 to game 2? And he was like, you don't want to know what I had to do to get ready to play in the second game. And he was like, yeah, I don't know if I wanted to catch that second game because the first game just really drained him. Mac Potrell said that, but he found enough energy to get out there, be the designated hitter, and he hit 2 home runs and he led the team. So it's just really for this Royals team, they want Salvador Perez to make the playoffs once again. For what he means to the team, the organization, the community, the city, they know that Salvi has been here through a whole bunch of things, a lot of stuff that went down, that happened, the ups and the downs. And now they want to get him back to that playoff run and then experience that again. Salvi said it himself. He said, once you play in the playoffs, you don't really want to play in the regular season anymore. You only want to be in the playoffs. And his teammates are trying their best to get him there. Daniel Lynch, the 4th, who just came back up yesterday, he said it best. He was like, if it means that much to Salvi, it means that much to us. And that's their mentality going forward.
That's cool to hear. Of course, Salvi, the MVP of the 2015 World Series, and was great in the 2014 World Series as well. So it would be cool to see Salvador Perez back in postseason baseball. And he is a leader not only in the clubhouse but outside, as that viral video of him playing basically backyard baseball with the kids in KCK last week suggested. He really is the spirit of the Royals, and it's cool to see not only him doing what he's doing at this age right now and this years of experience. He's having, I think, the second best season of his career right now. He in 2019, I think was it 21? I can't remember, when he had the 48 home runs and 121 RBIs.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah, 21. So led the American League in both, tied for the American League in home runs and led him in RBIs. I think he's at 24 home runs now and 94 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
Hitting over 280. He's having the second best offensive season of his career right now. And I think part of it is, look, he's got Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt Jr. hitting in front of him. So it's a terrific lineup when you get to Salvi at 4. But he's doing his part as well. The 6 RBIs on Monday matched set a career high, right? And like I said earlier, the grand slam was the 6th of his career. That matches Frank White for the all-time lead in Royals history. He's really helping his Hall of Fame cause by having this type of season. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Silver Slugger at the end of the season for him this year, and maybe even gets a couple of down ballot MVP votes, which also help the cause as well. He is It's certainly a renaissance type of year for Salvi, and maybe it's the beginning of the second or third chapter for him. Maybe he can, take this season, build on it, and have another couple of productive years with the Royals. I just, hats off to him and to the season that he's having.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think also lost in all of that is just the emergence of Freddie Fermin. Having Freddie Fermin as a backup catcher that can come in and take a lot of those games off of Salvi, where he doesn't have to catch 7 days out the week. He can catch maybe 4 of the 7 games out the week and allow Freddie to get the other 3. And Salvi can still be a designated hitter when he's not catching. Take him off of his knees and, allow him to move around, play first base. All those things are so important because it allows him to stay healthy and allows him to keep his bat in the lineup. And I think that's why you're seeing where he is right now in terms of the home runs, the RBIs. And it's something about doubleheaders because the last doubleheader the Royals had, I believe, Salvi came through and he hit 2 home runs in that one as well. So it's something about doubleheaders in Salvi, but I just think that for him, he knows where this team can go and where this team can get to. And I think he feeds off of that energy. He feeds off the energy of seeing Bobby Witt Jr. do what he's doing. He feeds off the energy of, like you said, Vinny Pasquantino. He feeds off the energy of the pitching staff. He knows he has a staff that can go 6 innings every night and the bullpen that can close it down on a somewhat consistent basis. So I think all that plays a role in just him being happy and enjoying the game. And when you enjoy something, like really enjoy it, it shows in your performance. And I think that's what we're seeing from Salvi. He knows what he can potentially get to this off season, this postseason. So he's fighting for it.
He loves catching, and I think you're going to have to tear the shin guards off of him and the chest protector and all that. But can you envision a time, certainly not this year, but maybe starting next year, where Freddie Fermin becomes the number 1 catcher, Salvaldor Perez becomes the number 2 catcher, but then, Phil gets his at-bats playing, spelling Vinny Pasquantino at first, and then the DH. I think you can still play a pretty full season with that as your lineup, right? Number 2 catcher, I don't know, maybe 60 games or so, but first base and DH, just elongating his career a little bit.
Yeah, I could probably see that happening, and it's probably a good possibility that it will be something that they talk about down the road. Because when you look at Freddie Fermin, his numbers have been really good this year, and a lot of people might not realize that because you see what the top 3 guys are doing with Bobby, Vinny, and Salvi. But you look at Freddie Fermin, he's hitting over 300 too, and he's playing in limited at bats. I mean, every day they have to figure out a way to put him in his bat in the lineup. So if Salvi's catching, Freddie's at DH. I mean, Freddie played both sets of the back-to-back last night. He was a DH in one, he caught in the other. So, I mean, I think, like you said, if Freddie continues to hit and play well, you could see a role where he might take more of the catching duties on, just like you said, to prolong Salvi's career. So, yeah, I think that might be the case.
Okay. Hey, let's before we talk about pitching, I want to bring up one other position player who great to see him swinging the bat the way he is, and that's MJ Melendez. What a streak he's on right now. Was he up to about 17 home runs? Reversed the 2-0 lead that Cleveland had, and then made, like I said, the diving catch. What's gotten into his bat, and the Royals have to be thrilled to see him swinging the way he's swinging right now.
Oh yeah, MJ. I think it's all about how well he plays consistently. He has found something, and it's just working with his swing and everything, and that has allowed him to be more on time, be more on contact when pitchers are trying to pitch him in as a left-handed hitter. And you're seeing it. He's able to pull the ball down the line for the home run. And when he's going well, it really spreads to the entire ethos of his game. So defensively, he's making a diving play. He's always going to hustle. He's always going to take the extra base. And I think that they need this version of MJ Melendez down the stretch, because if they don't, then they're going to miss out on that bat. And, they already are without Hunter Renfroe for a bit. He's on the injury list. So having MJ step up to be that extra auxiliary bat in the lineup only lengthens it for the Royals, and I think that's big for them. So what really has gotten into his bat, I think it's just, baseball's ebbs and flows, and he's on an upswing right now. He's figured out something that's worked for him, and hopefully the Royals believe he can keep it going.
All right, let's switch to pitching now. Look, everybody's, all Royals are feeling good coming off the doubleheader sweep. Neither starter figured into the decision with Cole Reagan's leaving the game. It looked like Salvi kind of recognized that something was wrong with Reagan's and motioned to the dugout, and Reagan's was out after 4 1/3. I believe, what would they call it? Calf cramp or something?
Yeah.
Or what's the latest on that?
So it was a left calf cramp, hamstring type thing.
Yeah.
Reagan said he was fine after the game. He said that he just felt it a little bit in that, I believe the 5th or 6th inning, and he was like, "Yeah, it's just they need to be taken out as a precaution." So he said he's fine, he's good, and it was hot out there. I mean, it was like a warm day in Cleveland. So those cramping happens and things like that. But he said he'll be fine and be ready to go for his next start.
Okay, and then before that, a couple of troubling starts by Seth Lugo and Brady Singer in the Phillies series. I covered the game on Sunday, and I thought, okay, Philadelphia can't hit as well Sunday as they did Saturday when they banged out 18 hits and 11 runs, and all they did against the Royals All-Star Seth Lugo was 16 hits and 11 runs. Look, a few of them were kind of the infield variety, and he got nicked a little bit, but still, I don't know. We got Michael Lorenzen throwing today, and then it turns back over, right? Walker, Singer, Lugo, Reagan's. Is there any reason with this, these tough lineups facing them, Astros, Guardians, Twins, Yankees, any reason to be overly concerned right now about the starting staff?
I don't think so. I mean, they've been so great all year, and they're gonna have starts in there where it's not gonna always go your way. And it's the end of the year. Everybody is dealing with something. You're trying to fight it. It's the dog days of the season. You have 1 month left. It's just a matter of, can you overcome that and really lean on each other to get to the finish line. I mean, Seth Lugo, he's pitched a lot of innings this year. He leads the league in innings pitched. So a lot that takes a toll on you, no matter how great you are. Brady Singer also, he's pitching a lot. Last year, you gotta remember, he was injured for most of the down the stretch, so he didn't pitch as many innings as he normally would have. So he's trying to get back into that flow and try to get to the finish line as well. So Cole Reagan has never pitched as much as he's pitched this season. So they're using these guys a lot. And when you're going 6+ innings every single time out, you're going to get a lot of times where you might not have it. Cole said it yesterday. He said, I just felt off. I did not have my mechanics yesterday. And he worked and he fought through and he grinded it out. I think a lot of pitchers might have to do that as well. But I don't think there's any concern. The Royals know they know that they can shine in the biggest moments. So you might see a little bit of regression as the season goes forward, but that's to be expected when you're pushing so hard and you're trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. The pitchers like Reagan's, Lugo, and Singer are all have surpassed or will surpass their season high in innings pitched. Lugo on Sunday, he never threw more than 145 innings in a season. He's already up to 170. So, that's what I think about with the staff, and you just kind of cross your fingers and hope that. And Lugo did say after the game that he was asked directly about his workload, and said that he feels 100%. There's no arm fatigue. He's not a gas thrower, so to speak. He's a spot guy and finesse guy, but I think I heard somebody say Sunday that his fastball is about 1 mile per hour less than it had been earlier in the season. Just stuff to keep your eye on going forward. Now,
and also too, on top of that, the Royals, they have kind of sort of have a contingency plan in place. If you really think about it, they brought up Daniel Lynch the fourth. He's a starter by trade. He's in the bullpen right now. He can provide innings. He can provide length. So if those starters do kind of struggle, they can always insert him in. Chris Bubich is another starter by trade. He can go multiple innings. Chris Stratton can do that. So they kind of have taken some of their starters that they would have normally used last year, and in the rotation, they put them in the bullpen just to be able to cover that if they need to. If those guys might be faltering, they can always plug in one of those two guys, Bubich or a Lynch or even a Stratton, to cover those multiple innings.
It's a good point. Lynch, of course, was part of the kind of the flurry of moves that the Royals made. They brought up him and Carlos Hernandez. So they've kind of shuffled the bullpen a little bit. Boy, it was good on Monday, wasn't it? I think it was 9 1/3, 1 run, going up against a Cleveland franchise. It may have the best bullpen in baseball, and the Royals, really won that battle on Monday and look to continue doing that over the next couple of days. But since the last time we talked, Jaylon, the Royals made a move to pick up Lucas Erceg, and what a difference he has made to the back end of the bullpen. It wasn't immediate that he was going to be the closer, but he seems to that seems to be where the Royals want him now. Or is it just high leverage situations?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. If Lucas Erceg is needed in the 7th inning with the game on the line and the top 3 guys on an opposing team are coming up to the plate, he's going to get in that game. If he's needed in the 9th inning to shut it down, he's going in that game. I just think that it was such a impressive move by Royals general manager JJ Picollo to go out and find him. And you have to realize, too, they have him for the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, under team control. And they really didn't give up too much to pick him up. Just what he's done so far for this club and the organization to close out games, that's something that they didn't have. I always point back to, there's a game a couple of days ago. Bases were loaded. Lucas Erceg comes in and gets 2 strikeouts. I believe it was the Angels or one of the teams. He gets 2 strikeouts and he strands the bases loaded. That kind of stuff is exactly what the Royals didn't have before they acquired him. Now that you have someone that can get strikeouts and can hold the game, it's only going to be so impactful when they make it to the playoffs, if they make it, because you're going to need those guys to get outs. The name of the game in the postseason is to get outs. It's not to score 1,000 runs. It's just, can you get those 27 outs the quickest? And I think having a guy like Lucas Erceg to do that is going to be so important. And I think he's showing that he deserves to be in that closer spot.
Yeah, it would remind Royals fans of the 14 to 15 seasons when they had a 3-headed monster doing it with Kelvin Herrera, Wade Davis, and of course Greg Holland, mostly in 14, but various others along the way. So, all right, one last thought here, Jaylon, before we wrap it up. I don't know if we're going to be able to talk again before the end of this stretch, which concludes with 3 in New York against the Yankees. It'll be I think the top 2 or maybe the top 3 players in the American League MVP race going after each other in this. Will be a great opportunity for Bobby Witt Jr. to do what he does on the biggest stage in baseball in New York. That's how, look, and I know that New York media will portray it that way. Aaron Judge, Juan Soto against Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
How should we think about that particular series? I know the Yankees slapped the Royals around when they played them in Kansas City earlier this year. I think the Royals ended up eking out the 4th game to avoid being swept by the Yankees. I remember, I want to say that Michael Garcia had a big hit in the 9th inning of that game, maybe a walk-off. But how about just a little preview of Royals Yankees coming up?
It's everything that you would want to see if you're a Royals fan. You have an upstart Royals team that's going against the machine, which what I like to call the New York Yankees. Um, for everything that Aaron Judge has done, looking most likely he's going to win the MVP. I know everybody wants Bobby to have a shot, and he does. But if Judge keeps hitting home runs and gets to 60 again, I don't think you take it out of his hands. I think for Bobby Witt Jr., it's another chance for him to show, like, hey, I'm next. I'm next in line. I think the Royals have that chance to show the same thing. If you go in New York and you take 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, that's impressive. That's probably more worth its weight in gold than any sweep that you can get against AL Central Divisional opponent or anything like that, because it's wide open. That's the reality of this right now. The American League is wide open. The Royals are only like 3 or 4 games back up the #1 seed. If they can beat a team like the Yankees in the regular season, that gives them confidence to know that if they do make it to the postseason and they have to match up again against them, they can get the job done. We already seen what they can do against the Guardians. We've seen what they can do against the Astros. We've seen what they can do against the Orioles. They're split with them. The Yankees are a team that is really the last one left to really watch out for. If they can get past that frontier and show that they can play with those guys, who knows what this postseason run could be like.
Really looking forward to it. Okay. Great conversation as always, Jaylon. Thanks a lot. That'll do it for this episode. Thanks to our producer, Randy Mason, for putting together the show, and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to Royals beat writer Jaylon Thompson for sharing his insights. And thank you for listening. Let us know what you thought of the show by leaving a rating and review. And we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in and around Kansas City.